Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the massive warship Indomitable, watching the stars through the wide viewing window. Earth's sun looked small from here, just another bright dot in the endless black of space. He had been commanding the Seoul Defense Station for 5 years now, and most days were the same. Ships came and went. Patrols checked the outer edges of their solar system. Training exercises kept the crews sharp. Today felt different, though. Hyunwoo could not explain why, but something in the air seemed charged with possibility. "Admiral, we're getting something strange on the long-range sensors," called Communications Officer Jimin from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with quick fingers that danced across her control panel. Her black hair was pulled back in the regulation style, but a few strands had escaped to frame her concerned face. Hyunwoo walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" Jimin frowned at her screens. "It's not natural, sir. The signal is coming from outside our solar system, way out there." She pointed to a section of star charts showing empty space. "And it's got patterns, mathematical ones." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. In all of humanity's 300 years in space, they had never found signs of intelligent alien life. Sure, there were planets with simple organisms, maybe some complex plants on a few worlds, but nothing that could build radio transmitters or send signals across the galaxy. "Are you certain it's artificial?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes, sir. The computer has been analyzing it for the last hour. This is definitely made by someone smart, someone trying to communicate." Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster. This could be the most important moment in human history. "Get me Science Officer Dong-hyun and Linguist Tae-ho. Right now." 20 minutes later, the bridge was crowded with experts. Dong-hyun, a thin man with thick glasses, was already deep into analyzing the signal structure. Tae-ho, who spoke 12 Earth languages and had written books about communication theory, was furiously taking notes. "What do we know so far?" Hyunwoo asked. Dong-hyun looked up from his tablet. "The signal is incredibly powerful, sir. Whatever sent this used massive amounts of energy. It's coming from a star system about 47 light-years away. The signal has been traveling for decades to reach us." Tae-ho cleared his throat. "The mathematical patterns are clear. Prime numbers, basic equations, geometric shapes, classic first contact stuff. But Admiral..." He paused, looking troubled. "There's something else, patterns that suggest urgency, repetition that feels desperate." "Desperate how?" "If I had to guess, sir, this isn't a friendly hello message. This feels more like..." Tae-ho hesitated. "Like a distress call." Captain So-young chose that moment to arrive on the bridge. She commanded the heavy cruiser Seoul's Pride, one of the most powerful ships in Earth's fleet. So-young was known throughout the military for her direct approach and her unwillingness to back down from a fight. "Admiral, I came as soon as I heard. Are we really talking to aliens?" "We're trying to," Hyunwoo replied. "Tae-ho, how long until you can decode more of the message?" "Give me 12 hours, sir. Maybe less if I can get help from the linguistics department back on Earth." The next several hours passed slowly. The bridge crew worked in shifts, but most of them found excuses to stay. This was history being made. Jimin kept monitoring the signal, reporting that it was getting stronger and more urgent. The aliens, whoever they were broadcasting constantly now. Finally, Tae-ho called everyone back to the bridge. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly as he held up his tablet. "I've got most of it decoded, Admiral." "But you're not going to like what it says." Hyunwoo nodded for him to continue. "The signal comes from something called the Kalari Republic. They're a peaceful group that controls 3 planets in their system. But they're under attack. Something called the Vorten Collective is destroying their worlds one by one." The bridge was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Tae-ho continued, "Their entire defense fleet has been wiped out. 2 of their 3 worlds are already gone. The last planet, their capital called Kalaria Prime, has maybe days left. They're sending this message to anyone who might hear it, but..." He paused, looking confused. "They don't seem to expect help. It's more like they're just trying to leave a record that they existed." Captain So-young stepped forward. "What do you mean they don't expect help?" The message keeps saying things like, "To whoever finds this after we are gone," and "May our story serve as a warning to others." It's like they can't imagine that someone might actually come to help them. Hyunwoo felt anger building in his chest. "How far away are they?" Dong-hyun checked his calculations. "At maximum fleet speed. 6 days, sir." 6 days, Hyunwoo repeated. He looked around the bridge at the faces of his crew. They all wore the same expression he felt inside. These aliens were dying, asking for nothing but hoping someone would remember them, and Earth's entire battle fleet could reach them in less than a week. "Sir," So-young said quietly, "we don't have protocols for this. First contact is supposed to be peaceful. Scientists and diplomats, not warships." "The scientists and diplomats can come later," Hyunwoo replied. "Right now, someone needs our help." Jimin looked up from her station. "Admiral, the signal is getting weaker. I think they're running out of power to broadcast." Hyunwoo made his decision. It felt like the easiest choice of his life. All ships, battle stations. Send word to Earth Command that we're moving. The entire fleet. And get me the captains of every ship in the Sol system. "Sir," Dong-hyun asked nervously, "what should I tell Earth Command is our mission?" Hyunwoo looked out at the stars again, thinking about aliens so far away who had given up hope that anyone would care about their lives. "Tell them we're going to answer that distress call. Tell them that when someone asks for help, humans don't just listen, we act." Within hours, the largest military fleet in human history was preparing to leave the solar system. 847 ships of every size and type, battleships that had never seen real combat, cruisers that had only fought in training exercises, thousands of fighters and support craft. As the Indomitable prepared to jump to hyperspace, Jimin reported that the alien signal was still broadcasting, though much weaker now. "Can you send a message back?" Hyunwoo asked. "I can try, sir." "Tell them," Hyunwoo paused, trying to find the right words. "Tell them that help is coming. Tell them that Earth remembers." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, racing toward a dying civilization that had never imagined strangers might risk everything to save them. Behind them, Earth's sun grew smaller until it disappeared completely. Ahead of them, the Kalari Republic counted down its final hours, not knowing that humanity had just decided their fate was worth a war. News of the alien distress call spread through Earth's solar system faster than the fleet ships could travel. On every space station, every colony, every orbital platform, people gathered around screens to watch the broadcasts. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their first contact with aliens was going to be a rescue mission. Fleet engineer Kyung-soo had not slept in 36 hours. His engineering teams were working around the clock in the massive shipyards orbiting Mars, installing weapons that had only existed as blueprints until now. The experimental plasma cannons had never been tested in real combat. The new shield generators were still having power fluctuation problems, but there was no time for proper testing. "Sir, we've got the new torpedo systems installed on 40% of the fleet," reported his assistant, wiping grease from her hands. "But the targeting computers are still having trouble talking to the main battle systems." Kyung-soo rubbed his tired eyes. "Keep working on it. We'll fix the bugs on the way there if we have to." He looked out at the shipyards where hundreds of vessels were being modified at once. Sparks flew from welding torches, heavy machinery, moved weapon components that weighed more than small buildings. "What about the Soul's Pride? Captain So-young's ship is getting the full upgrade package. New armor, new weapons, new engines. She'll be able to hit twice as hard and move twice as fast when we're done." "Good. How long until the whole fleet is ready?" His assistant checked her tablet. 18 hours, sir. Maybe 16 if we skip some of the safety inspections." "Skip them," Kyung-soo said without hesitation. "The Kalari don't have time for safety inspections." 3 decks down from the shipyards, Marine Commander Hae-won was running her soldiers through combat drills that would have been impossible in Earth's gravity. Her assault battalions moved through mock alien ship corridors, practicing room-to-room fighting in zero gravity. The training scenarios were based on pure guesswork about what alien ships might look like inside, but Hae-won believed in being prepared for anything. "Move faster," She shouted at a squad struggling with their magnetic boots. You think the aliens are going to wait for you to figure out how to walk on their ship walls? Hei Wan was 43 years old and had been fighting in one form or another since she was 18. She had trained on Earth, fought pirates in the asteroid belt, and led peacekeeping missions to Mars colonies. But she had never fought aliens, and the thought both excited and terrified her. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Jae-sung, jogged up to her observation platform. Commander, the troops are asking questions we can't answer. What do aliens look like? What kind of weapons do they use? How do we fight something we've never seen? You tell them the same thing I tell myself, Hei Wan replied. We adapt. Humans are good at that. Whatever we find out there, we'll figure out how to deal with it. And if the aliens are bigger than us? Stronger? Have better armor? Hei Wan smiled. Grimly. Then we'll have to be smarter and meaner. That's what humans do best. Meanwhile, in the supply sections of the fleet, Chief Wu Jin was dealing with the massive challenge of feeding and arming 50,000 people for a trip that could last weeks or months. The math was staggering. Enough food, water, ammunition, medical supplies, and spare parts for nearly 1,000 ships, with no way to resupply once they left the solar system. We're loading the last of the emergency rations now, reported his logistics coordinator. But sir, if this takes longer than expected, it won't, Wu Jin said firmly. We get there, we save the aliens, we come home. Simple. But privately, he worried. War was unpredictable. What if the Kalari system had no resources they could use? What if the enemy had weapons that could destroy supply ships? What if they got stranded in alien space with no way home? He pushed the thoughts away and focused on the numbers. More ammunition, more medical supplies, more everything. Dr. Yunji was having different problems in the science sections. As the fleet's leading xenobiologist, she was suddenly the most important person on the ship for questions about alien life. The problem was that she had spent her entire career studying alien plants and simple organisms. She had never imagined meeting intelligent aliens, especially not in the middle of a war zone. We don't know anything about their biology, she explained to Admiral Hyun Woo during a briefing. They could breathe poison gas, have acid for blood, or be 10 feet tall. We need to be ready for first aid procedures that might kill them instead of helping them. Linguist Taeho, who had been working with her to decode more of the alien messages, looked exhausted. I'm learning more about their language, but it's difficult. They think in ways that are different from humans. Their concept of time seems strange. And their social structure. I think they might not understand why we're coming to help them. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked. The messages keep talking about the natural order and accepting fate. It's like they believe that strong species are supposed to destroy weak ones. They seem shocked that anyone would interfere. Dr. Yunji frowned. That's a disturbing way to view the universe. It gets worse, Taeho continued. I've been analyzing older parts of their transmissions. The Kalari aren't the only species being destroyed. This Vorthon collective has wiped out dozens of civilizations. And apparently nobody ever tries to stop them. The briefing room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. You're telling me, Hyunwoo said slowly, that there's a galactic community out there, and they just watch genocide happen? That's what it sounds like, sir. The Kalari messages reference something called the Hegemony Council, which seems to be a galactic government. But they don't intervene when stronger species attack weaker ones. It's considered normal. Fighter Squadron Leader Chan Woo had been listening from the back of the room. He was 28 years old and had the best combat flying record in the fleet. Sir, permission to speak? Go ahead, Chan Woo. If that's true, if this is how the galaxy normally works, then we're not just saving the Kalari. We're picking a fight with everyone who thinks the current system is fine. Hyunwoo nodded grimly. I know. But what's the alternative? Let them die because that's how things have always been done? No, sir, Chanwoo replied. I'm not suggesting we back down. I'm just saying we should be ready for more than one fight. As the fleet prepared to depart, more disturbing information came from the Kalari system. The transmissions were getting weaker and more desperate. 2 of their 3 worlds had gone completely silent. The last planet was under continuous attack. Refugee ships trying to escape were being hunted down and destroyed. They're not just conquering, Dr. Yunji reported after analyzing the latest messages. They're committing complete genocide. They want to erase the Kalari from existence. Captain So Young, who had joined the briefing via video link from her ship, clenched her fists. How long until we get there? 5 days at maximum speed, replied Navigation Officer Minho. The Kalari don't have 5 days. Then we'll have to make better time, Admiral Hyunwoo decided. All ships, push the engines past their safe limits. Engineering teams, I want every bit of speed you can give me. Kyung-soo's voice crackled over the communication system. Sir, if we push the engines that hard, we might have mechanical failures. Ships could break down before we even reach the battle. Then we'll fix them on the way. The Kalari are counting down their final hours. We're not going to let them die while we worry about engine maintenance. As the human fleet prepared for their first interstellar war, the crews began to understand what they were really facing. This wasn't just about saving one alien species. They were challenging an entire galactic system that treated genocide as normal business. The weapons were loaded. The engines were pushed to their limits. 50,000 humans prepared to fight for people they had never met, in defense of principles that apparently no other species in the galaxy shared. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. Around him, his officers worked with the focused intensity of people who knew they were about to make history. All ships report ready, sir, Jimin announced. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, an entire species was dying, convinced that no one would care enough to help them. Take us to hyperspace, he ordered. Let's show the galaxy what humans do when someone needs help. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kalari system, and everyone on the bridge of the Indomitable went silent. The scene before them was worse than their worst fears. Massive alien ships, dark and twisted like living nightmares, surrounded a blue-green planet. The Vorthan vessels looked less like machines and more like enormous sea creatures that had learned to fly through space. They pulsed with bioluminescent lights, and their hull surfaces seemed to ripple as if they were breathing. My God, whispered Dr. Yunji, staring at the tactical display. Those ships are huge. Admiral Hyunwoo studied the enemy formation. The largest Vorthan vessels were easily 5 times the size of Earth's biggest battleships. Bright beams of energy lanced down from orbit, carving burning scars across the surface of what had to be Kalaria Prime. Even from this distance, they could see explosions blooming like deadly flowers on the planet's surface. Communications. Are we getting anything from the Kalari? Hyunwoo asked. Jimin worked frantically at her station. I'm picking up weak transmissions from what looks like a defense station. It's heavily damaged, sir. The Kalari are asking if anyone is receiving their final messages. Send them a response. Tell them the humans have arrived. The response from the Kalari came immediately, filled with confusion and disbelief. Taeho translated in real time. They're asking if we're really here to help them fight. They can't understand why strangers would risk their lives for people they've never met. They'll understand soon enough, Hyunwoo said grimly. All ships, battle formation Delta. Target the Vorthan vessels attacking the planet's surface. Captain So Young's voice came over the communication channel from the Soul's Pride. Admiral, we're outnumbered 4-1 and their ships are much larger than ours. Then we'll have to be smarter and faster. Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to save lives. The Vorthan fleet began turning to face this new threat. Up close, the alien ships were even more disturbing. Their hulls seemed to shift and change, covered in what looked like scales or armor plating that moved independently. Weapon ports opened, like mouths filled with glowing teeth. Those are biological ships, Dr. Yunji reported with fascination and horror. They're not built, they're grown, like massive spacefaring organisms. The first exchange of fire lit up the darkness between the fleets. Vorthan bioweapons fired streams of superheated plasma that could melt through steel like it was paper. But the human ships scattered in patterns the aliens had never seen before, using speed and maneuverability instead of trying to match their firepower. Captain So Young led her cruiser squadron in a diving attack that brought them under the massive fourth-hand vessels, targeting what appeared to be vulnerable nerve clusters along their undersides. The experimental plasma cannons that Kyung-Soo's teams had installed performed better than expected, punching through alien bio-armor and causing internal explosions that rippled along the creatures' hulls. Direct hit on the lead Vorthon ship, reported Tactical Officer Young Min. It's listing badly and falling out of formation. But the human victory was short-lived. More Vorthon ships were arriving from deeper in the system, and these new arrivals were even larger than the first wave. Some of them were the size of small moons, bristling with weapons that could destroy a human ship with a single shot. Fighter Squadron Leader Chan Woo led his pilots in a desperate attack run against one of the massive bioships. His squadron of small fast fighters danced between the alien vessel's weapon systems, looking for weak points that the capital ships could exploit. "This thing has to have a brain somewhere," Chan Woo muttered as he pulled his fighter through a turn that would have killed him in Earth's gravity. "Everything biological has a control center." His wingman, Lieutenant Sung Ho, spotted something first. "Chan Woo, look at the forward section. Those light patterns aren't random. They're following neural pathways." The two pilots dove toward what appeared to be the Vorthon ship's head region, dodging streams of defensive fire that looked like liquid lightning. Chan Woo armed his most powerful torpedoes and fired them directly into the cluster of glowing neural nodes. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The massive bioship convulsed like a wounded animal, its weapons firing randomly as its nervous system overloaded. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull, and bioluminescent fluids leaked into space like alien blood. "That's how we hurt them," Chan Woo broadcast to the fleet. "Target their neural clusters. They feel pain." The battle turned into a horrific dance of violence in the void. Human ships, small and fast, darted around the massive Vorthon bioships like angry wasps, stinging at nerve centers and vital organs. The aliens responded with increasing desperation, their weapons becoming more erratic as their ships suffered damage that registered as genuine agony. Marine Commander Hae-won saw her chance when a damaged Vorthon command vessel drifted close to the human battle line. "Admiral requesting permission to board that ship. We need to understand how their command structure works." "Permission granted. But be careful, Hae-won. We don't know what's inside those things." Hae-won led a boarding party of 30 Marines in armored assault shuttles that latched onto the Vorthon ship's hull like parasites. Cutting through the bio-armor required plasma torches that burned for 10 minutes straight, filling the surrounding space with the smell of charred alien flesh. Inside the Vorthon ship, the Marines found themselves in corridors that pulsed with organic life. The walls were covered in nerve fibers that glowed with electrical activity. The floor felt spongy under their boots, and the air was thick with humidity and strange chemical smells. "This isn't a ship," reported Sergeant Kyun-ho over the radio. "This is the inside of a living creature. The walls are moving, Commander. They're actually breathing." The first Vorthon they encountered was unlike anything from Earth's worst nightmares. It stood 8 feet tall with multiple arms that ended in razor-sharp claws. Its head was a mass of writhing tentacles surrounding a mouth filled with rows of needle teeth. When it spoke, the sound was like grinding metal mixed with the screams of dying animals. But Hae-won had trained her Marines well. They fought with disciplined fury, using their superior coordination and human tactical thinking to overcome the individual strength of their enemies. Plasma rifles designed for fighting human opponents worked just fine on alien flesh. The boarding action gave them crucial intelligence about Vorthon ship coordination. The biovessels were connected through some kind of neural network that allowed them to share information instantly. But the network had a weakness. If the central command nodes were damaged, the entire fleet would lose coordination. "Admiral," Hae-won reported while fighting through another section of the alien ship, "these things are like a hive mind. Take out the command vessels, and the rest will be confused and disorganized." Meanwhile, Jimin had managed to establish better communication with the surviving Kalari defense station. The aliens' voices were melodic, but filled with amazement as they watched the human fleet tear through their attackers with tactics they had never imagined. "The Kalari commander wants to know how we learned to fight the Vorthon so effectively," Taeho translated. She says her people have been fighting them for months and barely managed to damage their ships. Tell her it's because we're human, Admiral Hyunwoo replied. We don't fight to maintain balance or follow rules. We fight to win. The tide of battle was turning, but at a cost. Human ships were taking heavy damage from the Vorthan bioweapons. The Daegu's hammer had lost life support to 2 of its sections. The destroyer Busan Rising was limping along on backup power. Casualties were mounting, and they hadn't even reached the main Vorthan fleet yet. That's when the sensors detected something that made everyone's blood run cold. Massive hyperspace signatures were appearing at the edge of the system. Vorthan reinforcements were arriving, and there were a lot of them. Tactical, how many ships? Hyunwoo asked. 200 additional vessels, sir, including 3 of those moon-sized command ships. Captain So Young's voice crackled over the communication channel. Admiral, we can't fight that many. We need to retreat and regroup. Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display showing the dying planet below them, then at the massive enemy reinforcements arriving. He thought about the Kalari voices full of wonder that someone had actually come to help them. He thought about what Taeho had said about the galaxy accepting genocide as normal. All ships attack formation Omega, we're not retreating. Sir? So Young sounded shocked. The Kalari have been dying alone for months, convinced that no one in the galaxy cared about their lives. We didn't come all this way to run when things got difficult. We came here to show the galaxy what humans do when innocent people need help. The human fleet regrouped and prepared to face odds that should have been impossible. But as they moved toward the new Vorthan forces, something unexpected happened. The Kalari defense station, damaged and barely functional, began moving to join them. The Kalari commander says her people want to fight beside us, Taeho reported. She says they've never seen anyone fight for strangers before, and it's inspired them to try one more time. Admiral Hyunwoo smiled grimly as he watched alien ships, tiny and damaged, moving to join the human battle line. 3 months after the Battle of Kalaria Prime, the small human fleet had grown into something the galaxy had never seen before. The orbital stations around Kalaria were now shared between dozens of different species, their ships docked side by side in a display of cooperation that violated every rule of galactic politics. Admiral Hyunwoo stood in the command center of Forward Operating Base New Hope, watching the tactical displays that showed refugee ships arriving from across the galaxy. Each day brought new species fleeing genocide, oppression, or simple abandonment by the major powers. What had started as a rescue mission was becoming a revolution. Sir, we've got incoming hyperspace signatures, reported Communications Officer Jimin. Massive ones. This is it. The Vorthan Collective had finally arrived with their full war fleet, and they had brought friends. 2,000 bioships emerged from hyperspace like a plague of living nightmares, accompanied by vessels from 3 other major powers. The combined enemy fleet numbered nearly 4,000 ships, ranging from massive bioorganisms to crystalline vessels that looked like flying cities. Dr. Yoonji studied the sensor readings from her science station. The bioships are different this time. Larger, more heavily armored. They've learned from our previous engagement and adapted their biology. Captain So Young's voice crackled over the communication channel from the Soul's Pride. Admiral, we're still outnumbered 4-1, and now they've brought the entire galactic establishment with them. Then we'll have to be 4 times as good, Hyunwoo replied. All ships battle stations, and open a channel to the refugee fleet. What followed was unprecedented in galactic history. Ships from 17 different species moved into formation alongside the human battle line. Kalari vessels with their flowing artistic hulls, rigid, geometric craft from the Nexari species, sleek, fast ships from the aquatic Dolomari. Each species brought their own weapons, tactics, and determination to fight for a cause larger than themselves. Fleet engineer Kyung-soo had spent the last 3 months working with alien engineers to create hybrid technologies that none of their species could have developed alone. Human plasma weapons powered by Kalari energy crystals, Nexari armor plating enhanced with human adaptive algorithms, shield systems that combine the best innovations from a dozen different civilizations. All ships, this is Admiral Hyunwoo, he broadcast to the combined fleet. 3 months ago, we came here to answer a distress call. Today, we're fighting. For the right of every species to exist without fear. We're fighting to prove that the strong should protect the weak, not prey upon them. The enemy fleet began their attack with a coordinated assault that should have overwhelmed the smaller defender force. Bioships launched swarms of smaller organisms that moved like living missiles. Crystal vessels fired beams of coherent energy that could slice through asteroids. The combined firepower was enough to sterilize entire planets. But the defender fleet scattered in patterns that confused and frustrated their attackers. Fighter Squadron Leader Chan Wu led mixed-species squadrons through impossible maneuvers, with human pilots flying in formation with Kalari energy beings and Nexari mechanical units. Each species brought different capabilities, different perspectives, different solutions to the same problems. Their coordination is perfect, reported one of the enemy commanders, his transmission intercepted by Jimin. How are they managing to integrate so many different species? The answer was simple, but revolutionary. Instead of trying to force everyone to fight the same way, the human fleet had learned to use each species' strengths. Fast species handled reconnaissance and hit-and-run attacks. Strong species formed the battle line. Technical species managed support and logistics. For the first time in galactic history, diversity was being used as a tactical advantage. Marine Commander He Wan led the most ambitious boarding operation ever attempted. Mixed-species assault teams attacked enemy command ships simultaneously, with each team designed to exploit specific weaknesses in different types of vessels. Human Marines used their adaptability to fight in alien environments. Kalari warriors used their energy manipulation abilities to disrupt enemy power systems. Nexari soldiers used their mechanical precision to target critical components. This is impossible, reported a Vorthon shipmind as Haywan's teams captured its neural control center. Different species cannot work together. It violates natural order. Then maybe natural order needs to change, Haywan replied as her team secured the alien bridge. The battle reached its turning point when the Hegemony Council's own enforcement fleet arrived. These were the vessels of the galaxy's rulers, ancient and powerful ships that had maintained order for thousands of years. Their arrival was meant to end the battle by destroying both the Human Alliance and the Vorthan forces. "Attention all vessels," came the broadcast from the lead council ship. "You are in violation of galactic law. All hostilities will cease immediately, or we will destroy both fleets to restore order." Admiral Hyunwoo looked around the command center at the faces of his human crew and their alien allies. He thought about the refugee camps full of species that had been abandoned by this same council. He thought about the Kalari, who had expected to die alone because no one in the galaxy cared about their lives. "All ships new primary targets," he announced. "We don't kneel to councils that permit genocide." The decision sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet. The Human Alliance was not just fighting the Vorthan Collective anymore. They were openly defying the galactic government itself. What followed was the largest space battle in recorded history. 3 different factions, the Human Alliance, the Vorthan Collective, and the Hegemony Council, fought a 3-way engagement that lasted for 6 hours and reshaped the political landscape of the galaxy. The Human Alliance won through superior coordination, innovative tactics, and something the galaxy had forgotten, the willingness to sacrifice for strangers. When the Soul's Pride took critical damage protecting a group of refugee ships, 3 different alien vessels moved to shield her from further attack. When Kalari energy ships exhausted their power defending human fighters, Nexari mechanical units shared their energy reserves without being asked. Supply Chief Wu Jin coordinated the most complex logistics operation in military history, keeping dozens of different species supplied with the ammunition, fuel, and spare parts they needed to keep fighting. Dr. Yun Ji worked with alien medics to save wounded crew members from species she had never studied before. The battle ended, with the Hegemony Council fleet in retreat and the Vorthan Collective scattered across half the galaxy. But more importantly, it ended with a new political reality. The Human Alliance controlled 3 star systems, protected dozens of species, and offered something the galaxy had never seen: a government that existed to serve its people instead of ruling them. "Sir, we're getting communication requests from all over the galaxy," Jimin reported as the last enemy ships fled to hyperspace. Hundreds of species want to join the alliance. They're calling it the Terran Alliance. Captain So Young limped onto the bridge, her uniform torn and her face covered in soot from fighting fires on her damaged ship. Admiral, what are we going? To do with an entire galactic government? We're going to run it the way humans do things, Hyunwoo replied. We're going to protect the weak, defend the innocent, and prove that strength should be used to build up instead of tear down. Dr. Yoonji looked up from her station, where she was coordinating with alien scientists to share medical techniques across species barriers. Sir, we need to establish colonies, trading partnerships, defense agreements. We're talking about governing hundreds of worlds with billions of people. Then we'd better get started, Hyunwoo said. He looked out at the growing fleet of ships from dozens of species, all working together despite their differences. The galaxy thought they were sending us a simple distress call. Instead, they woke up something that's going to change everything. Fleet. Engineer Kyung-soo joined them on the bridge, his uniform covered in grease and alien lubricants from working on hybrid technologies with a dozen different species. Sir, the new joint construction projects are ahead of schedule. The first Terran Alliance vessel designed by multiple species will be ready in 6 months. The ship he was describing would be called the Kalaria's Defender, built with human engineering, Kalari energy systems, Nexari armor, and weapons designed by 5 different species working together. It would be the first vessel in history created by true interspecies cooperation. What about Earth? Asked Tactical Officer Youngmin. What do they think about us starting a galactic war? Earth Command sent their response this morning, Jimin replied. They're proud of us and they're sending reinforcements. As if to emphasize her words, new hyperspace signatures appeared on the sensors. Earth's second fleet, 200 ships, strong, dropped out of hyperspace to join the growing alliance, but they weren't alone. Ships from Earth's colonies, vessels from human settlements across a dozen star systems, all coming to join the fight for a better galaxy. Admiral Hyunwoo stood at the center of what had become the command hub of an interstellar alliance. Around him, humans and aliens worked side by side, planning for a future that none of their species could have imagined alone. The Battle of Kalaria Prime lasted 18 hours and ended with burning Vorthon bioships drifting through space like dead whales. The few enemy vessels that survived fled into hyperspace, their living hulls scarred and bleeding alien fluids that glowed in the darkness. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display as the last Vorthon signals disappeared from their sensors. Around the human fleet, debris from the battle created a new asteroid field of twisted metal and organic matter. The cost had been high. 43 human ships destroyed, hundreds of crew members dead or wounded, but they had won. Communications. From the Kalari Defense Station, Jimin reported. Her voice was hoarse from hours of coordinating battle communications. They're asking permission to come aboard our ships. Granted. Arrange for Admiral diplomatic quarters and get Dr. Yoon-ji and Tae-ho ready for first contact protocols. Captain So-young's battered cruiser limped alongside the Indomitable. Her ship had taken direct hits from Vorthon bioweapons, leaving hull plates melted and twisted like abstract art. Admiral, my engineering teams report that the alien weapon residue is still active. It's eating through our armor like acid. Fleet Engineer Kyung-soo is working on neutralization procedures, Hyunwoo replied. How are your casualties? 17 dead, 43 wounded. But sir, my crew is asking the same question I am. What happens now? We just announced to the galaxy that humans exist by starting a war. Before Hyunwoo could answer, Dr. Yoonji's voice came over the communication system from the docking bay. Admiral, you need to see this. The Kalari delegation is here and they're incredible. Hyunwoo made his way to the main docking bay, where a small crowd of human officers had gathered to witness history. The first aliens to set foot on a human ship walked through the airlock with movements that seemed to flow like water. The Kalari were tall and elegant, standing nearly 7 feet in height. Their skin was translucent, showing patterns of light that moved beneath the surface like living constellations. Their faces were angular and beautiful in a way that was completely alien yet somehow familiar. Most striking were their eyes, which shifted color from deep blue to silver to gold as they looked around at their surroundings. The leader of the group stepped forward and spoke in a voice like wind chimes. Teho hurried to translate through his portable device. "She says her name is Fleet Commander Naltara," Teho whispered to Hyunwoo. "She's thanking us for caring about people we had never met. Sir, she's crying. Those are tears, but they look like liquid diamonds." "Admiral," Hyunwoo stepped forward and offered a formal bow, hoping it would be understood as respectful. "Tell her that humans are honored to meet the Kalari people. Tell her that no one should have to face extinction alone." As Teho translated, Naltara's skin patterns shifted to brighter colors. Through the translator, her response came back. "She says she doesn't understand how an entire species can think the way we do. In the galaxy, strong species take what they want from weak species. It's been that way for thousands of years. No one interferes because that would upset the balance of power." Dr. Yoonji stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming diplomatic protocol. "Ask her about this galactic community. How many species? How is it organized?" The answer that came back was disturbing. According to Naltara, the galaxy was controlled by 5 major powers called the Hegemony Council. These ancient civilizations had divided space into territories, and smaller species like the Kalari existed at their discretion. When something like the Vorthan Collective decided to expand by destroying weaker civilizations, the major powers simply looked the other way. "But why?" Dr. Yoonji asked. "How can they just watch genocide happen?" Naltara's response, filtered through Teho's translation, was chilling. "Because interfering would mean war between the major powers. They prefer to let small species die rather than risk their own stability." "That's barbaric," Captain So-young muttered. "That's politics," Admiral Hyunwoo replied grimly. "The same politics that let the Vorthan massacre dozens of civilizations without consequences." Over the next several days, as human medical teams worked to save Kalari survivors and engineering crews helped repair their damaged space stations, more information reached them about the galaxy's reaction to the battle. Communications Officer Jimin had been monitoring long-range transmissions, picking up fragments of alien broadcasts from across the galaxy. "Sir, we're famous. And not in good way." She played recordings of alien voices speaking in languages that sounded like music, static, and mathematical equations. Teho worked to translate what he could. "The Hegemony Council is demanding to know who authorized the human species to interfere in Vorthan expansion," he reported. "There are emergency sessions being called. Some of the major powers are treating our intervention as an act of war." "War against whom?" Hyunwoo asked. "We were defending innocent people from genocide." "That's not how they see it, sir. According to these transmissions, we've violated something called the Territorial Sovereignty Agreement. By fighting the Vorthans, we've disrupted the established order." Dr. Yoonji looked up from her studies of Kalari biology. "So they're angry at us for stopping a genocide?" "Exactly. And there's more bad news. The Vorthan Collective has declared us an obstacle to natural order and is mobilizing their full war fleet against us." The briefing room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. They had won one battle, saved one species, and somehow made enemies of half the galaxy. Fleet Engineer Kyung-soo raised a tired hand. "Sir, how big is their full war fleet?" Teho consulted his notes from conversations with Kalari survivors. According to Fleet Commander Naltara, the Vorthan Collective controls hundreds of star systems. Their full military might has never been assembled in one place, but estimates suggest over 2,000 bioships. 2,000, Captain So-young repeated. "Against our 800. 803, corrected Supply Chief Woo Jin. "The Kalari are contributing their surviving ships to our fleet." 3 tiny patrol vessels, So-young replied, "against 2,000 biological nightmares." But the human response to this news surprised even Admiral Hyunwoo. Instead of fear or calls for retreat, his officers began planning. Fighter Squadron Leader Chan-woo started calculating how many bioships his pilots could disable if they targeted neural clusters. Marine. Commander Haywan requisitioned more boarding equipment for ship-to-ship assault operations. Sir, Haywan said during a strategy meeting, we know how their ships work now. We know they feel pain, and we know they share information through biological networks. We can use that against them. The question is where, Kyung-soo added. We can't defend Kalaria Prime against 2,000 ships. But if we could draw them somewhere else, somewhere that gives us an advantage. Dr. Yoon-ji had been studying biological samples from destroyed Vorthon vessels. I might have an idea about that. These bioships are incredibly sophisticated, but they have the same weaknesses as any living organism. Temperature extremes, radiation, certain chemical compounds. If we could fight them in an environment that's hostile to organic life, you mean like near a pulsar or in a radiation nebula, Chan-woo suggested. Exactly. Their biological systems would be fighting the environment as much as fighting us. Admiral Hyun-woo listened to his officer's plan for a battle against impossible odds, and he felt pride mixed with fear. These people had volunteered for a rescue mission and ended up volunteering for a war that could destroy them all. There's something else we need to consider, he said finally. Even if we defeat the Vorthons, we'll still have the Hegemony Council to deal with. We've challenged their entire system of government. They're not going to just let us go home and pretend this never happened. Communications Officer Jimin looked up from her station. Sir, we're getting more transmissions from other species. Small ones like the Kalari. They're asking if the humans will help them too. How many? Hyun-woo asked. Dozens, sir. Maybe hundreds. Word is spreading that someone finally fought back against the strong species. Refugees are heading toward our position from all over the galaxy. Captain So-young leaned back in her chair. So we're not just at war with the Vorthons and the Hegemony Council. We're starting a galactic revolution. Looks that way, Hyun-woo agreed. The question is, are we ready for that responsibility? Through the ship's windows, they could see Kalari vessels working alongside human ships to repair battle damage. Alien and human crews shared tools, techniques, and stories they couldn't translate but somehow understood. For the first time in galactic history, different species were fighting together as equals. I think we are, Dr. Yoon-ji said quietly. Look what we've accomplished in just a few days. We saved the Kalari. We proved that genocide can be stopped. We showed the galaxy that there's another way. Admiral Hyun-woo nodded, watching a human engineer and a Kalari technician work together on a damaged shield generator. Their species had evolved on different worlds, under different stars with different biology and different cultures, but they were working toward the same goal. Then we'd better get ready for the next fight, he said.